This is a view of the light, a fire burning through the night. We rise, we shine, we take the fight. A view of the
Good morning, everyone from Spirit Sessions. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And welcome to my host, Teresa Clan, and our special guest, Anne O'Neill. Today, we're sending our love to Teresa Warren, and she couldn't be with us today. But she's very much here in heart and spirit. We're coming to you live on Facebook and to YouTube, and this episode will also be available later on our podcast, so you can listen anytime. If you're watching on YouTube, please take a minute. This will really help us out. We're at 878 subscribers, so we're only 12 subscribers short of 1,000, which puts us in another category. So if you are watching and you haven't subscribed, or if you're watching for the first time, just subscribe. Hit the notification button. It's all free. We love you, and thank you for that. And like I said, today's episode features special guest Anne O'Neill, and we're excited to dive into our exciting discussion. And here's some little bit of Palo Santo out to all of us, and I'm wishing peace. We're just sending out peace to the world, and everybody sends out peace to the world. Peace and love, and protection for all. And I'm going to put this over to my host, Teresa Clan. She knows Anne personally, and Anne's joining us from the West Coast. So thank you for getting up so early, Anne and Teresa, both from the West Coast. As my sister says, the best coast. So there you are.
It is my pleasure, and I'm sure it's your pleasure as well. And welcome to Spirit Sessions, A View of the Light.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Maybe just we can do a little bit of a land acknowledgement, and not so much as a ticking the box, but just to acknowledge who we are, how we got here, the impact of anywhere we go. And I think sometimes, when you travel, you go somewhere and you want to learn about the culture, and you want to go to the museums and try the food and maybe try your hand at some language. Do we actually do that here with the original people on the lands that we are at? Maybe not. So land acknowledgements help us sort of bring that into our awareness and show the reverence and the respect that is due, because these people, the original First Nations people, they still have an active living relationship with the lands. And sometimes as colonials, as settlers, we do not. So we just want to take a moment and acknowledge, thank the original earth keepers, guardians, elders, spirits of the lands for their gracious hospitality and allowing us to live, work, play, and love on their sacred territories. And may we walk with respect, softly upon their paths. So with hearts full of gratitude, acknowledging our own backgrounds. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And yes, I am thrilled. This is my friend Anne, that I'm just Twitter-pated that she's here. I've known Anne for many, many years. And like some of us, she has worn different hats. And just briefly, you've worked as a lawyer, but a lawyer for championing like causes. We don't need to get into details. But just amazing what you've accomplished for the betterment of all the community. And also you've done intuitive coaching for people, coaching, readings. Your journey reconnecting with spirit really kicked off around 2018. Anne's also a brilliant writer who is writing a book right now. And if you go to her website, www.anneo'neill.ca, you'll see her gallery of the paintings that have been created and are for sale. And when I see these paintings in person, they're like they're like oracles, you know, good artwork where you can find yourself in them. There's some way of interacting. They seem very multi-dimensional for me, and
Oh,
what an honor it would be to have one of these hanging in any place. And yeah, just welcome, Anne, and in your newest endeavors of being an intuitive soul guidance coach, and which actually is all about galactic astrology. Welcome, 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 Anne. And just any little brief bullet points you would like to add to what I just shared?
No, I think you did a great job, Teresa. Thank you so much. It's an
Nice.
honor to be here. Um, yeah, so I'll sort of start a little bit at the beginning and just give you an idea of my connection with spirit that started when I was young. And then I'm going to take us through a little bit of a story around my journey with breast cancer, which I began to understand as a shamanic initiation at a certain point. And then I'm going to take us through how I got into galactic astrology and kind of reset my life purpose at that time. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about how I'm working with clients now to also look at how we're dreaming our lives into being. And then finally, near the end, I'm going to talk about the current energies in terms of the galactic astrology and how we can, tap into and utilize and benefit from those energies at this time. So I'm going to ask Teresa and Rhonda to feel free to interrupt me at any time, to ask me questions, to clarify, even to slow me down a little bit if I start to go a little fast. And we'll just get started.
Okay, that sounds beautiful. That sounds wonderful. And we have thirsty ears.
Okay, so I came into this life with a strong connection to spirit. That's always been present. I could tell you lots of different things, but back when I was about 2, one of my earliest memories was being in my yard where I lived with my family and looking up to the stars where I considered my star family to be, and asking them for guidance, asking them for assistance. And actually I wanted to go what I called home at that time. I felt it was just too hard in this earth realm. And so there was a desire to communicate with them and have them take me back home. Now they told me I needed to stay, and they would always be with me. And I have always felt that they have been. So I have always felt that strong connection to spirit.
That's amazing. I mean, at such a young age, and that's so amazing. And to remember it, right?
Yes. Yeah. And even my birth experience, I remember, and I remember agreements coming in, but just trying to give a flavor of how strong that connection was when I was young. And then up to age, 5 or 6, I was helping animals and beings cross over, helping stuck spirits leave. I thought everyone, saw what I saw and could do these things. And of course, I quickly found out that when I began to talk about it, that wasn't the case. And so then I became more secretive and I continued to do everything, but I just did it in secret. So then, my university training to become a lawyer took me in a direction which I would say was a little bit more intellectual, or a lot more intellectual and cerebral. So some of those parts of me, I was still very intuitive, but that part had faded. And then it was 1997 or so when I stopped practicing law, that my strong visionary, capacities and being open to spirit, it just came back online in a pretty big way. And I did a lot of meditation at that time and studying and that kind of thing. But then I went back to, my regular life I worked in nonprofits, and I was also practicing law, and I did all those things. And then it was early 2018, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, that the visionary, intuitive aspects of myself just came through full force. And that guided me through my journey. So initially, my imaging was very complex, and it looked like I had multiple areas of breast cancer in both breasts. But my intuition kept telling me, no, it's small and it's just starting. And I just kept hearing that. And so I consulted with my family doctor, my surgeon, a variety of other practitioners, my homeopathic doctor, my naturopathic doctor, but mostly I tuned into my intuition to carry me through what to do. So, of course, I was offered a mastectomy because of the possibilities, and even a double mastectomy because of what they were seeing. And I, I decided on breast conserving minimal surgery. And then step by step, I made my decision to, I didn't do radiation, chemo, or conventional hormone therapy. I decided to really focus on naturopathic and homeopathic, emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual healing. So I took a very
Right.
holistic approach.
Right. Did you experience much pushback on taking that approach, either from anyone in the medical community or even people around you?
Honestly, no. I had amazing doctors. My surgeon was, I don't even know how to explain how that I ended up with such a good surgeon. I felt so understood by the people around me, and people they kind of gave me the space to just make my decisions, and they were very supportive. So I was very lucky.
That's
My surgeon was
beautiful.
he was even interested in what I was doing. I mean, I would show him some of my reports. So I had an amazing team. Yeah.
Oh, what a blessing that would be. And we wish that experience for everybody, all of our, all our relations, all of our brothers and sisters here, because as we know, that's not always the case.
No.
And, one thing that stands out for me about you, Anne, when I talk with you, let's say, when we interact, I know all of you is taking in like all of me. So that's that intuitive part. But you also have that beautiful way of weaving in like the practical, the grounded nature, the more analytical. So it's all of you, so you don't get like overly emotional or like over the top passionate about something. So you maintain this equanimity, this poise, this beautiful fluidic balance around you. And I know you bring that to your clients because I'm one of your clients, but you also probably brought that to the medical people where they could sense, hey, this woman has a good sense of herself. Let's honor and support that. Maybe that is part of, training with being a lawyer and everything, just getting that real analytical, those steps in place. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think you're actually tapping into something. It's sort of twigging my memory. When my surgeon would write his reports to my doctor, he would say things like, Anne has really researched this very thoroughly. She understands this to a depth that I don't even in certain ways, and she's very comfortable with her decisions, and I'm very supportive of them. So I think they were picking up the thoroughness with
Yes.
which I had approached everything,
Mhm.
and I was approaching it from all levels. So there was a sense in which that was understood by my surgeon and conveyed to my doctor. I would say my surgeon took the lead in how he was speaking with my doctor, so that my doctor then had the view, if you know what I mean. Like the surgeon was the one
Yeah.
who really got it.
Right. He really reinforced your energy. Feet on the ground, head in the stars.
You got it. You got it. Yeah, so at a certain point during that journey, I started to understand it as a shamanic initiation because it was the deepest healing of my entire life. I mean, any of the wounds that needed to be healed, the depth to which I had to go in order to heal them was deeper than I had gone before. And so was the light that I was able to bring to that, because for me, that is what a shamanic journey is about. It's about bringing the light of our true nature to the deepest and darkest and most shadowed places. And sometimes I like to remind people that it's not always bad stuff, whatever that means, that we put in the shadow. Sometimes it's the most remarkable things about us that we actually put into the shadow and we project on other people. And that's sometimes how we give our power away and create gurus, etc., is
Oh,
because
absolutely.
that's our own light.
Yeah, absolutely. Things that say if I might get jealous of someone, like or like, oh, that person's so accomplished in that, gee, I wish I could be. That's kind of an example of that. Instead of owning it myself in that sense of confidence or skills or abilities, just projecting it on someone else and
That
kind
you're
of
less than.
yeah, kind of othering ourselves,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And And it's interesting about breast cancer in women and how it's on the rise. And I don't know if you felt this. Women used to be able to just emote, but now that we're in the man's world, we can't emote our emotions and we stuff it down in our hearts, which is connected to our breast tissue. And I think that's where a lot of dis-ease begins. And that's why we need to do that deep healing, because otherwise we just, maybe that's the trigger for the breast cancer. I don't know. It's just a thought I've seen and thinking all those deep emotional wounds that we used to be able to maybe more allow, we've had to stuff them down and keep them silent.
I think you're definitely onto something that is true to my experience. I mean, I worked in a highly masculine job, and in terms of the patriarchy, it couldn't have been more patriarchal and male dominated. So I did have to stuff a lot of who I am as a woman in that type of an environment. And part of my healing was coming back to a much more feminine way. So blending the much more feminine way. And it's not to throw out the masculine way, of course. The analytical part, the action oriented part, that's all still there. But I really had to come through to bring that more feminine, the intuitive part that was part of me when I was young. That all had to come back online for my true healing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I remember I was, I knew you during this part of your journey, Anne, and weren't you getting some insights too that you were doing it for yourself, but also there was a larger picture, larger dynamics going on kind of in the background?
Absolutely. It was clear to me that it was ancestral healing, and my grandmother had breast cancer and my mom's twin sister had breast cancer. So it came down the maternal line. And my role was to do the healing around that the women who preceded me probably weren't able to do. They weren't supported to do the type of healing that I'm able to do now. And neither did the times support the type of healing that I'm able to do now. So it's all coming to fruition now through me, with the support that I have in my life and also the support that exists in these times.
Yeah, of course. So you're doing the work for yourself, but on behalf of the collective too, and maybe specifically the late women in your lineage, but for all beings, again, for all beings as well.
Absolutely. I think with shamanic journeys and initiations, when we clear that, whatever it is that we're connected to that we need to clear, we open up that pathway for everyone, so that I basically cleared, a path that I was supposed to clear. And so it's easier for other people to go into that and access that now that that's been done. And and that's the case for anyone who enters into that kind of a deep healing. They do open up a pathway, a portal, so that other people can access that more easily, the healing that they need, and that heals the collective. We're all connected. So
Absolutely. And for some people that can show up different ways. Like if people are, something happened in their life or some situation or process happening in a loved one, they can turn around and become like advocates for that, or sharing teachings and all that. So that's another way of serving, right?
absolutely.
So we can all step into those roles of caretaking, being, wisdom keepers, carriers, supporting everybody. Because all we have to do is look around and, hey, what's active in my life? And that can be a bit of a trigger. Oh, maybe that's in my life for a reason beyond just my own personal experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%, Teresa.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes. So I think, from that process, I was able to reclaim my health and claim my own wholeness, because I basically retrieved all those over time. It didn't happen right away, but over years, I retrieved all those aspects of myself that had been diminished, compartmentalized, suppressed, whatever. So that once I came out of that, then it's more, well, what am I here to do now? Because I can't just go back to practicing law necessarily. It's not going to work. So I tried I tried a couple of times to just go back to practicing law, and it didn't work. It doesn't, it's not a match for the fullness of and the wholeness of who I am now. So then I began, embracing my life coaching more, and the work that I was doing to help people navigate challenging situations and challenging transitions. And also the work that I had been doing, all of this since 2004, to help people step more into their life purpose and their mission so that they could live more authentically and more fully who they were. And then at a certain point along the way, 2023, I decided for the last time that I would stop practicing law. And then 2024 was when I found my course, Quantum Soul Guidance and Galactic Astrology with Julia Balaz. And so I began to study my own galactic chart first, of course. And what I saw in it was, it's called a grand fixed cross. And I'm just going to try to be quite simplistic here and just give us a bit of an overview. But it's a grand fixed cross that my midheaven was being transited by the planet Pluto. And that activated the whole grand cross. Essentially, it was like a cosmic crossroads that I was in with this major Pluto transit that would take me very deep into reconfiguring my inner being and who I am at a foundational level so that I could show up in the world in a completely new way. What was interesting to me is Pluto started to transit that particular geometric arrangement in my chart right at the time I stopped practicing law and then found galactic astrology. So it gave me a framework to really understand, I'm not just, I could second guess myself and say, well, galactic astrology, that's so far from law. Am I out of my mind at this point? But in seeing what I saw, it made sense. And so it helped me to validate what was happening and integrate the experience of that transition, which I'm still in. And then I began working with clients, and I began to see how similarly it could help them in their lives. So to give a few examples, when I work with clients, sometimes they have very specific things like, there's financial issues they would like to hear about, how the stars, would play in on that. Sometimes, there's issues with relationships or what have you. Other times I'm helping people to understand their incarnational soul history across star systems. So just to kind of back up for a moment, and with the traditional astrology wheel, it basically shows you where all the different planets and points are in this solar system. And you do the interpretations based on that, the houses and where the planets are, etc. With galactic astrology, it basically adds like an outer layer around that, which is where all the fixed stars and cosmic points are as you go much further out. So when I'm reading somebody's chart, I'm able to see where their planets are aligning with these different fixed stars and these different cosmic points. And then that brings in, information and archetypal energies that can assist them in their lives. So I can, with the outer planets, how they're pointing to the stars, I can start to get a sense of where their ancient soul history is when they first came into this part of the cosmos. So if you're a star seed, then that could give you information about which star system you originally came into when you stepped down into this part of the cosmos. Then when
I'm just going to say, and I love that you mentioned the word archetypes. That really helps kind of grasp the meaning of it, because otherwise it's sort of this floating information cloud, right? But when you mention archetypes, because we all have them, we all connect with them. They may or may not be activated or necessarily aware, but we all know the mother archetype. We all know the father archetype, right? So these are just aspects of us. Could you define what a fixed star would be?
So I probably should back it up a little bit and just say star systems. So the star system that is activated most for today, I'll just mention that one, Pegasus constellation. So as we look out onto the night sky, we see different constellations. Pegasus constellation would have multiple stars within it. Shiat and Markov are two stars that are within the Pegasus constellation. Shiat is at the leg of the horse, and Markov is at the saddle of the horse. So that's an example. So if I saw, Neptune and Saturn are conjunct in the sky, and that's conjunct meaning when we look out from Earth, they're near each other. They may be different light years away. One may be 1 light year and one may be 25 light years away, but they're near each other in degrees in the sky.
Right.
So if I see Saturn and Neptune conjunct Shiat, then I know that's being activated right now, as an example.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, it does. No, these like Pegasus, because they're so far away, don't they move like really slowly through the system? Kind of like, Pluto is a slow mover, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, the further away they are, the way we see them, they wouldn't change much in degrees. So Pisces, Shiat and Markov are both in later degrees of Pisces. Like Shiat is at about 29 degrees of Pisces. We wouldn't see that move much over a period of many years.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. Okay. So it's us moving essentially, and then finding whatever's out there. Ah, fascinating. Okay. Oh, I just love that. This whole idea. Teresa T-Dubs can't be here, but she would love knowing there's a Pegasus constellation. She probably does, eh, Rhonda? Oh, sorry, you're muted, hon.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, probably so. And she wouldn't be saying much, but she'd be taking a whole bunch of notes. Yeah. So no, that's interesting. Yeah. So Sirius, we can see that star all like at this time of year, in the evening, and then in the morning, maybe still in the morning when you're up really early. So that one would be another fixed system like the Orion constellation, but Sirius is sort of off from the Orion because we imagine it would be sort of all by itself out there as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So it's interesting you mentioned Sirius, because Sirius A, B, and C, those 3 stars are conjunct Jupiter right now. And Jupiter is the planet of expansion. And Sirius is often connected with levels of mastery schools and, it's our spiritual sun. We talk about Sirius as being our spiritual sun. So it's often viewed as a place we can go, whether metaphorically or literally, to tap into all that wisdom that we have from our incarnations and our journeys over the years. So that one's very active right now. And yes, it's different from Orion. The ones that often come up in people's charts, Pleiades, Orion, Sirius, Pegasus is a little bit more rare to see in birth charts in significant ways. Certain ones of them seem to come up more. Yeah. So Orion is a constellation, and within Orion there's different stars. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Do you find your understanding of, say, Orion or, Sirius, any of these fixed star constellations, to kind of sync up with, let's say, the common understanding within the metaphysical communities? Do you find those energies kind of match up, or are we kind of misinterpreting some things in the popular world? Like to be a Pleiadian means A, B, and C. Does that sync up with the teachings of a galactic astrologer?
I think so. I mean, it's galactic astrology is a pretty new field. I mean, relatively new. So it's evolving, and I think it's evolving based on everybody's understanding. And so what I usually do is I look to the more ancient mythology associated with the different stars and the systems. I also look to what various intuitives are saying about it. But ultimately, I tune in myself. After I've gathered that information, I tune in myself. And when I'm working with somebody's chart, it's about how these things show up in relation to everything else in their chart. And it's also tuning into their energy that will determine, which parts of this am I going to bring through, which is what's important for right now with this particular person.
Yeah. Right. Beautiful. Well, yeah, we've done 2 charts, and you even brought in your understanding of the gene keys and wove that into the chart to even unpack it more, like this big, beautiful, I don't know, zip drives that we all are, right? And just to really bring that in a seamless way that really helped me understand so much more than a traditional astrology. Yeah.
That's wonderful to hear. I tend to look at gene keys and human design as well when I look at people's charts. So I focus mostly on galactic astrology because that's my area. But I do find that human design and gene keys can just help to point in different directions and bring things all together. So the way I see it is, it's like we have this stamp that's placed or imprinted upon us when we're born, and it contains so much information. And then it's about how to decode that. Find people, like I'm somebody who will help you interpret and decode that information based on the systems that I tap into. And then I see it as really a treasure chest of information that's available to help guide us through our life. There's literally so much information contained there that I would never be able to bring it all through in a session, but it's about bringing through what's relevant for the person now.
Right.
And it's almost infinite. There's no end to what.
Is it sort of like decoding our blueprint, more
Yeah.
or less? And then we come in with no knowledge of why we came here. And so, well, most of us do, not everybody. But then when we get this knowledge, we can sort of, it's almost like a shortcut to decoding your blueprint and sort of saying, okay, now this is what I need to focus on, or this is what I should be looking at, and this is what I've misinterpreted all along. And now I can stop hitting my head with that 2x4 and just go forward in my life. Is that kind of?
Yes. Yes, I would say that you're definitely hitting on something that I see happening with clients when we do this work. So another thing that I can help people see from their charts is the arc of their soul evolution in this lifetime. And I do that by looking at the South Node and the North Node. So the South Node is what you already have mastery over. If people don't believe in incarnation, it can just be that, this is in the past and this is in the future, right? Essentially, it's what you already have mastery over, and then what your soul wants to go towards and grow towards and learn in this lifetime. A lot of times we tend to go into our comfort zones, and we may have some resistance about what it is that we're here to grow into. So if I can interpret the chart in such a way that tells you, okay, this is where your soul wants to go. These are the things that you have in your toolkit that you can lean into, draw upon, and work with in order to move forward. Then here's some tips to get you oriented towards where you need to be oriented, which is your North Star. Once you're lined up, life goes much more smoothly. If you're continually trying to crawl into the past or what you've already mastered, you will get a lot of bumps along the road, because basically the message from the universe is you need to go here, but you're trying to go here. So I'm able to orient the person so that their momentum is fulfilled and they're able to come into who they are.
Yes, and that you do it so beautifully. In my experience, it's like you reframe things. So instead of me thinking, why does this always happen? Or this is something in my life, you're able to put it in a way that's supportive, that's helps support like momentum, growth, evolution, where I could like claim it like, oh, I have been doing that all along. And maybe we can downplay things sometimes, like you said earlier, not owning our treasures, our genius, our unique vibrations. And we can get a little off track and a little distracted, especially in today's world. So I think that astrology is very significant in the modern world and what's happening now. In fact, maybe even more so, because of all the glut of information available now. It's helping us understand who we are and what we're actually about. Is that, yeah.
Definitely. It's so great to hear you say that. And, you're talking from experience, because we have done some sessions. So yes, that is what I try to do, is help people basically reframe the things that might be holding them back into strengths that can help propel them forward. And to start to look to where they are going more so than where they're stuck or coming from, because we get unstuck by understanding where we're going and drawing upon all of the gifts that we have from what we've already mastered. So for an example, I mean, my breast cancer journey is not something that I would have asked for, but all of that taught me a whole bunch of, skills and ways of being that I can now bring to my work, that I can sit here today and say, I'm grateful that it happened. I'm truly grateful that that happened, because that honed all those skills and brought me into my mastery so that I can move, towards what my purpose is, and then assist others in doing the same, because ultimately we want everybody to be able to shine their light as brightly as possible in this world as they were intended.
Right. And can I share something that's very personal, but this is the right time to do it? One thing that Anne really helped me with, and maybe others can relate to this false idea of who we are, at some level, to greater or lesser degrees as the years went by, I believed I was a flawed soul. I believe that I had this huge capacity for evil and darkness and not of the light. And that's full disclosure, right? But when Anne did the chart and other things in my life too, she allowed me to recognize that, no, Teresa, you're not bad. You're just capable of going to those places to help others and bring them more into the light. And can you see how freeing that was? How liberating that was? That, oh my gosh, I'm not a flawed soul, right? I am divine. I mean, I'm getting angel bumps just saying it. And that, Anne, was truly a precious, precious moment for me when we did that first chart together. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Jennifer from Ecuador is saying, "Good day, goddesses. I'm learning a lot about my past 4 weeks and grateful that I landed right where she is describing, centered in gratitude." So that's lovely. Lovely. Thanks, Jen.
Yeah, thanks, Jen.
Yeah, no, Teresa, I think what I've come to learn is that sometimes those of us who have the most light and the most capacity that, are able to uncover that, we're sometimes given some of the darkest, deepest tasks to work on. We are not the darkness. We are the light that brings that we bring that true light into the darkness. So we're given that because we have enough light. We have within ourselves enough to go there. So that's how I view it. And that's not a slight to anybody. If you have a lighter journey in life, that doesn't mean, that you don't have capacity. But I can definitely say those who are given hard things to work with, they have tremendous capacity. That is my experience. And that's what I believe. And that's what I've experienced in my own journey. So thank you I'm thrilled that you arrived there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, sorry. I'm just kind of rethinking all that and the experience of that, of coming to the realization. That was a gift. If nothing else came from this session,
yeah,
that was a beautiful, beautiful gift. And I could have resisted it. I could have got stuck. I could have caught up in my own story and not evolved toward my North Star.
Yeah.
But you were able to broaden, open my aperture of consciousness, where I can, giving me an eagle eye perspective, the soul level perspective on things, where it's not scary, it's not unachievable, it's not impossible, and it's natural, right? Like you say, just allowing that to happen. Where I was sort of fighting, like, oh, I don't want that. I don't want anyone to know about that. Like, that shuts my heart down with that kind of thing. And that doesn't help anything. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Beautifully said. Yeah.
Yeah.
So most recently, I'm working with my clients to view their lives more as a dream. And so I think we're at a segue where I can move into that.
Sure.
So basically what I mean by that is, our nighttime dreams are obvious. It's just our mind projecting things. There's nothing going on externally. It's kind of a controlled environment. Our daytime is not really much different, although we tend to think of it as different, and things are, they seem more solid, and they are to some extent more solid because what we see all around us is the result of a collective dream. It's not just our own. But in the same way that our minds affect the nighttime dream, so in the daytime, the same thing. So the daytime dream is very much affected by how we perceive things, how we are experiencing things. And then that affects the reality that unfolds around us. And when I talk about this is grounded in Tibetan Buddhism. It's also grounded in quantum physics. It's not just some kind of, airy-fairy thing that I'm pulling out of thin air. Tibetan Buddhism has for a long time thought and taught that it is a dreamlike kind of, nature that we're living in. And we do influence it by how our minds work. So when I work with clients, I encourage them to look at some of these archetypal energies. We can use the Galactic Astrology chart to see some of what's going on. We can look at, the events of their lives and look at it more like it's a dream, how we interpret dreams, how we assign meaning to dreams. What's it telling us? What's it showing us that's playing out as the main themes in our life? And then when we have more of that kind of knowledge, it points us more towards what our meaning and our purpose is, what we're here to do, because that's what those pieces of information are meant to convey to us, is who we are, what we're here to do, what we're meant to work with. As we work with that, then it changes our lives for the better as we get that bigger perspective. And it also puts all that out into the collective, right? So it's, it's a non-local field. Whatever we change in ourselves affects everything else. So that in that sense, we're contributing to the positive unfoldment of our own lives, and we're also contributing to the positive unfoldment of the whole collective.
Absolutely. What benefits our own health and well-being benefits the collective, and what benefits the collective benefits us. It's just this constant feedback loop.
It gives a whole new meaning to lucid dreaming as well.
Yes.
It's just like we can lucid dream when we're awake a lot easier than we can when we're asleep. And we can, but at the same time, we can change our reality by like thinking it's like a lucid dream, and we can direct, like we can make our thoughts are things, right? They so choose the good things, that we have power that we don't even know we can tap into. And if we start looking at that way, if we can dream our future, we can dream it, like walk through this life realizing that we can change the direction of everything. We don't have to go, oh, I'm stuck here. We can say, no, we can project ourselves into what the best path, best future possible for ourselves. And that will change everybody's future. Like, the worst case scenario doesn't always have to happen. It can be the best case scenario that's going to happen. And it's just like, we can change the world just by changing ourselves, which is of course saying, but that begins with us, when we affect the vibration of the world by our thoughts. So it's a whole new lens on that one.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Like lucid dreaming is perfect, right? So we want to, that's when we actually have some mastery over how our mind works, when we can actually be awake in our dreams at night and be awake in the dream that is the daytime. And then instead of reacting to things or getting pulled into ego or, pulled into, a victim mentality or something like that, we can shift that. And in shifting that, we don't have control over everything, because everybody is doing this process, but there's a 100th monkey kind of effect. And so once you get to the point where enough people are actually lucidly dreaming in a way that's positive and envisions a positive future, we tip it. There is a point at which we tip it over into collectively dreaming a positive future. So I say, oftentimes to myself, like, if you don't have a positive view of the future and you aren't dreaming a positive future into existence, then what are you doing? What exactly are you doing?
Yeah,
And so
we're creating by default.
that's
We're
right.
not owning our sovereignty, agency, discernment, and discretionary choices. And we're just letting the collective, whatever, decide for us.
Yeah.
And that's not always the best thing.
It's
you
not
know?
even true. It's not always true. And
Ah.
we're just, it's, I think it's like what the news portrays is a certain lens, and it's not really reality. It's based on the reality they want and not what we want. And I'm just wondering if we can change it that way. Jennifer just asking another question. She completely understands that what we process helps the collective. What is the best assistance we can offer spouses who care for us as we go through the storm that we don't have the tools? So people around us that maybe aren't even aware of these processes. What can we do? Is it what is available to us to help them cope, those around us? Is it just changing ourselves and not worrying about them, and hoping that they get it by osmosis, or what?
Well, personally, I do believe that it's through modeling and embodying that we actually have the greatest impact, especially when somebody's, we can have this kind of discussion because we're all open to it. But if somebody is not open to what I'm talking about right now, I would do better to just show up in the fullness, embodied light of who I am, and almost be quiet about some of the things that I think they may not agree with, or that may be too much. So it's about using, I think, what I would call skillful means. And so first and foremost, embody, show up in the light of who you are, and then discern for yourself whether you can say certain things or whether it's best to just be that light of who you are, and let nature run its course, I want to say.
Let everybody walk their own path, right? So
Yeah.
our path is not their path, no matter
No,
how
it's
much
not.
we want to drag them down that road.
But we
that.
like we were talking about, in embodying our own light, we are ultimately influencing them. Like that is enough of an influence right there. And that may be all that's needed in certain situations. And it is more skillful to just do that.
Yeah, I love that, Anne. And it reminds me of like healing and, getting our harmonious with our shadow and dropping old stories like you help us do with the Galactic Astrology, right? So that we don't have those buttons or those agendas we may or may not be consciously aware of. So if I have some pet area of life, that I don't drive my life into somebody else's life with that. I don't have that need or that desire to, didactically teach my whatever it happens to be. So if I don't show up with that, then whoever I might be connecting with or talking with or interacting, that I know or not, there's nothing for them to push against.
That's
So
right.
they have that freedom to organically just expand into more light. That's maybe one way to look at it too. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then I would say, it's unconditional love, and it's compassion and wisdom, and using those things to accept other people as they are, the same way as we accept ourselves as we are. And like you say, Teresa, resistance can be created. If we're trying to change somebody, that is fundamentally a lack of acceptance, and it's a lack of love, really. So I think unconditional love and compassion and just being ourselves is the best way.
Yeah, any parent of a teenager would agree. Yeah.
For sure. And I know you're coming. So can you give us a little bit of the energies for this week coming up?
Yeah. So what I did was to try to get a flavor of this cycle that we're in now. There's some significant things that have happened recently. First, we went into the year of the fire horse on February 17th. So I basically looked at 4 charts to kind of pull together what I'm about to say. I looked at February 17th. I looked at today, the day of this session. I also looked at the new moon, which is coming up in a couple of days on March 18th. And I looked at the spring equinox, which is coming up in a couple of further days on March 20th. So with the new year, obviously that's a start of a new cycle. today, this is significant that we're having this conversation today, has to be in there. The new moon is a new beginning, obviously. And the spring equinox is a very important part of our yearly cycle, where the sun moves into 0 degrees of Aries. 0 degrees of Aries being the beginning of the zodiac for the next cycle. So those are the charts that I looked at. So at the new year, Saturn and Neptune were conjunct, meaning together in the sky, with Shiat in Pegasus constellation at about 0 degrees of Aries. And with 0 degrees of Aries, it's an ignition point, or it's a 0 point in the zodiac. It's a start over kind of place. It's a new cycle beginning. And whoever holds that 0 point sets the tone for the new cycle. And it's Shiat in Pegasus, Shiat being the star right. in the constellation of Pegasus. So we have right away 2 horses, the fire horse of the new year, and then the winged horse of Pegasus. And it brings in all the elements, because the fire horse is obviously dynamic and fiery. Pegasus is a winged horse, so that's the air element. It's comfortable in the air. And in mythology, wherever it stamps down its foot on the earth, a water spring comes forward. So all 4 elements are there. Pegasus is a very multidimensional, tapping into the higher dimensions kind of energy, very mystical. And it brings in our dreams, actually. So with Saturn and Neptune is connected more with the dreamlike nature of reality and the whole fabric of our quantum reality, tapping into that. Pegasus is the perfect bringer of light, way shower, traveler into the higher dimensions, to go there and get what's available to us to create our dreams in this dimension that we're in. Excuse me. And Saturn is there as well. And Saturn brings structure. So we're basically being given, like, you could see all this higher dimensional energy funneling down through the connection with Pegasus, and then landing with Neptune, with the dream, like nature, closer to this realm where we are, and Saturn bringing it all into form. So we're at this perfect point in our trajectory right now to really focus on what are we bringing in from the quantum, from the non-local field, and dreaming into this reality that we're moving into. And so Pegasus and Markab is the other star Shiat and Markab are the 2 stars in Pegasus constellation that repeat numerous ways and numerous times through these 4 charts, that really bring home the nature of really focusing right now on what do we want to dream into this reality, and really taking advantage of making that the most beneficial dream for ourselves and for the whole collective. So I'm trying to summarize, because I know we're getting closer to the end. Yeah. So it's, to me, it's exciting. It was exciting to see that. And those stars, Shiat and Markab, they're conjunct our sun leading up to today. And then a few days out, it switches to the other one. That only happens once a year for a couple of days. So we just happen to be sitting right in this time of when these 2 stars are conjunct our sun. They've also been conjunct Neptune and Saturn. So these 2 stars, Shiat and Markab in Pegasus, are playing off in so many multiple, numerous ways that is about bringing that multidimensional energy down into this realm that we're in. They also assist with taking off the heaviness, releasing any heaviness, releasing any ego-based, things that we might be holding, emotional pain and suffering. They're also involved with releasing all that and bringing down in that higher energy. So it's a beautiful time.
It sounds like it. So we are all, as a collective, supported by all this, not just Aries people. This applies to all of us for a beautiful reset, right?
Absolutely. So the current energies I'm talking about is what applies to the whole world, what I just said.
So people, if they want to find out more personal, how can we contact you? I know your information is attached to the video and it attached to the YouTube video, this Facebook video, and on the podcast. But if they want to talk to you, if you can just tell them how they can get in touch with you and book a personal in session for your astrology, how would they do that?
So there's a number of ways. My website, www.anneoneil.ca. Facebook, I'm Anne O'Neill on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram as Anne O'Neill. I have Substack as well as Anne O'Neill. Any of those ways would be fine. My website's not up to date with all my galactic astrology things that I do, but there is a contact page there, and they can contact me through that.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's wonderful. And before we go, Teresa has, in honor of you, has said she would pull a card for the energies today from the Divine Feminine and her Divine Feminine deck. So I'm going to pop her over for a second over there so we can see you.
In honor of all of us, but especially my sweet friend Anne, I am choosing the Divine Feminine Oracle by Megan Watterson. She is Doctorate of Divinity, going to Harvard, etc. And she created a deck of actual personage, actual women who existed, just so they don't fade off into obscurity, plus other well-known gods or goddesses, etc. So I pulled a card, and this one is full for the collective. And I just did it now because I really believe in just like being in the moment. So just let me flip to the page here. And I'll just hold up the card so people could see it.
Sure.
There we go. There she is. The beauty.
Who's that? Oh.
Rabia, Queen of Saintly Women. I am in service of divine love. I move the way love asks me to move. And this is exactly what Anne's been sharing all this time. A meditation. Are my current actions motivated by love? A couple of intentions. I am in service of divine love. I move the way love asks me to move. And she represents a rare, pure love that doesn't seek anything other than simply to love. She was one of the most influential Sufi women in Islamic history. She is a Muslim saint and a Sufi mystic who lived in the 8th century in Basra, the present-day Iraq. And it goes more in the book, it goes into the history of these people and how they were, came across. And she embodied a freedom that divine loves offer us. If we see her life as a metaphor of the soul's progression, she went from slavery to sainthood by devoting herself to Allah. Her only concern was the love that she could give to God. Her every action was motivated by her devotion to God, and through it, she received the greatest spiritual gift, self-realization. Beautiful.
Very, very apt. And
Very
Katie Alexandra 8865 says, thank you for your combined feminine wisdom shared and for the upliftment you have shared, inspiring us all to be that we have chosen to be, a shining light of our uniqueness as love presence. Wow, that's very nice, Katie.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Thank you, Katie. Yeah, thank you.
And I want to thank you too, Anne. I just wanted to talk about next week. Next week is the 10-year anniversary of the bombings in Belgium on March 22nd, 2016. Jessica Dugas of the Breakthrough Show Network shares a story of a stirring poem born from the aftermath that inspires many today. For Love, written by Dorothy Auger. On this special episode, we come together to stand for love. Katie Steinle will record us reading Dorothy's poem and show us the biofeedback. She's a human design specialist, which is very cool. Later, Katie will share us her human design astrological updates, and I know they're going to all dovetail with yours. So it's very inspiring, and if you haven't, if you all haven't heard about the For Love poem, you can go on YouTube. I just saw Gillian Anderson reading
Yes.
it out loud. It was a beautiful rendition of it. But every morning on the Breakthrough Show Network Collective, they read it at 7 a.m. I believe Eastern, and they
Eastern.
read it all together. It's like a prayer for peace, is what I always say. It's a poem, but it's also a prayer for peace, world peace, and it's quite inspiring. So please join us next week, and we'll get to see the biofeedback and how that works on that poem and everything else. So and like I said, if you guys have a chance, please show us out, and please take note of. I'm going to put this up, but you can also look in the comments because they should be pinned there. This is Teresa's newsletter that she puts out for us, Teresa Clan's newsletter, and it's just a great little newsletter. Please sign up, and you can sign up here, and you'll get all the up-to-date news on spirit sessions and what's going on.
That's right. So you don't have to miss anything. Just easy one-click access to, experience our broadcast on Facebook or YouTube. And this goes out weekly. It's all about spirit sessions, that newsletter.
Yeah. So it's great. And you can go to YouTube anytime and rewatch this and rewatch the 9 seasons of our show. So, you can binge watch us anytime you don't want to watch traditional news, which I never recommend to anybody. So, this is the news of the light, and that's the way we like it. And
there we go.
Thank you again, Anne, for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much for lighting up our days so we could continue that and just have those as a beautiful gyroscope, lighting up the world, one heart at a time. Yes.
Thank you.
It's been my honor and my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
This is a view of the light, a fire burning through the night. We rise, we shine, we take the fight. A view of the light.
I think it's good. We're still on.